7 o'clock planning board time. Call the meeting of August 7th. Everybody had a chance to look at the minutes from July 24th.
I did. I'll make a motion to accept the minutes as written with no corrections.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All made plans?
Done?
Good.
Site plan waiver for Keller Williams.
Reps from Tony and Keller Williams.
Come on
Come on
up.
up. I'm Jill Corville from Keller Williams.
Okay.
All right, so Keller Williams, and you can just jump in if I misspeak, would like to locate to the right of Tony, same building, just in that space to the right. It's an office use before, it's an office use now, so there's really not a change of use or intensity or anything. So the building commissioner has asked them to just come here and fill out the waiver form for waiver of site plan review and make sure the board concurs with the building commissioner that there really isn't a change of use from the prior use and that you don't see any potential issues here, and then, act however you feel is appropriate on the request.
So this is in the same building as Tony's Pizza?
Yes, it is.
Okay. It's not one of the houses out?
Previously the
out in front?
insurance
Yep.
agent.
I'll make a motion that we grant the waiver for site plan review. It's an equal sign. Happy to have another business in town. Welcome
We're
aboard.
excited to be here.
Wonderful.
Second.
Discussion from the board, in the audience? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? You're gonna abstain? Okay, so,
That's 401.
yeah.
John, you're just abstaining because you just dropped in?
Yep. All right. I think you're all set?
Thank you. Yeah, I'll put that in
Good
the
luck.
letter form. Okay.
Also waiver for site plan review for Vapors Paradise.
And the rest of Vapors Paradise. This is a little bit different. They want to locate in an existing structure with plenty of parking at 176 Worcester Providence Turnpike. This is the office building that's in front of the highway department. So if you're going south, you pass the post office, the Pleasant Valley Road that goes to the highway department, and then it's that office building right there. So existing building, existing parking, plenty of parking, but definitely a change of use because they would have a retail store. So again, same directive, building commissioner has said, gotta come see the planning board. Is a change of use, so the planning board has to decide whether you need to go through site plan review or not. So if you have questions, or if you guys want to tell them a little bit about you.
How about you tell us about what you're proposing down there?
Sure, so a small retail location.
Tell them your name first.
Oh, I'm sorry. My
For
name's
the record.
Mark O'Connor.
I'm Matthew Marker.
So a small retail shop that'll specialize in cessation devices. If you guys are familiar with like electronic nicotine delivery systems, vaporizers.
Yeah.
So a small store, we're expecting traffic about 25 plus or minus customers per day. There'll be 1 to 2 employees on at a time, pretty much like a morning shift and a night shift and then swing. There'll be 4 owners in total, and those will be the employees. So Matt and I will be 2 of them.
And your hours, 10 to 9, 6 days a week,
That's correct.
11 to 4 on Sundays?
Yep. Short shift on Sunday, but want to be available for anybody that can't make it during the week.
Thoughts from the board? Miriam?
Just reviewing, his comments.
Sorry about the hand.
Does that say 257 patrons daily?
It says
No, it's
225 plus or minus.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Wow! Okay, yep.
We'll
I have,
type it out next time.
That's all right. When you don't know, you just ask.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I have no pushback on it.
Are you in business someplace already? Or is it going to be a new location?
We're in two different businesses. So Matthew already owns a vaporizer store in Milford. I'm an e-liquid manufacturer. So I actually make the liquid.
Okay.
Okay.
So I do not have a brick and mortar retail store yet. I only sell to brick and mortar stores. So this will be a new endeavor for me.
Yeah.
But Matt's bringing along his expertise from his store in Milford.
And why would someone, just the vape business,
Sure.
what is it, what do you do? You sell electronic cigarettes?
Yep. So I have to be careful about
Yeah.
the verbiage that I use with you.
Yeah,
Just about, what we're allowed to say. Like I can't, it's not a health benefit.
yeah,
though
well, that's fine.
We are removing,
I sell stuff that isn't healthy.
well, we're removing 2,000 chemicals from cigarette users. So we're reducing it down to 1, to nicotine only.
Okay.
It's not a combustible, it atomizes the vapor. Which I don't know if you guys saw that last week, the FDA took a huge turnaround on their deeming regulations and extended it an additional 5 years. They're now promoting the benefits of switching to a vaporizer. So it's a
Because-
cessation device, that's the purpose of it.
Okay.
Did I answer your question?
Yeah, no, I just, and more, not just for me, but for other people.
For everybody, yeah,
Um,
absolutely. I love the conversation, I'm extremely passionate about it, it's what saved me from smoking. So,
Okay.
and that's actually how I got into the industry in the first place. So I was at Bose for the last 11 years, so this
Okay.
is,
John?
I have them all set.
no question.
No comments.
You mentioned that you make or manufacture the liquid. Would that be taking place in this building as well?
Not at all. No, my lab's in Concord, New Hampshire.
Okay. Comments from the audience?
Questions?
No?
Is the space vacant right now? Or
Um,
what was there?
the unit has, like, is it a t-shirt manufacturer?
I think it's just office for
They-
someone.
they were on-
Someone's
they're on-
personal office.
They're on it might have been in person. They're on a month-to-month basis. I didn't get too much out of the building manager. But we went and looked at the spot for 5 minutes. There was definitely a desk still there and,
Okay.
I know there's like 3 empty units there now, like next to it, because we looked at all of them.
Okay.
This one will be right on the corner, like the first one,
Yeah.
like if you turn
More
into the
visible.
parking lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. which-
Well, I'll make a motion that we waive the site plan review, and we get a second, then there's a discussion, and then we call for a vote.
Second.
Got a second?
So, is there any further discussion? We are going from office type to retail, which is allowed along 146. So,
Here's the one weird caveat,
yeah,
is that retail is allowed with a special permit. So I think they have to get a special permit anyway you slice it. I think you could waive site plan review, but I think they're gonna have to, I mean, you take a look at the use table, see if you agree with me. Another set of eyes is always appreciated. And I don't know that there's a process to get around
trade,
the
selling
hearing
goods,
for a special permit.
selling goods to the public, right?
Yeah,
And that's
because he's not manufacturing, which would definitely require a special
B2
permit.
there?
Yeah, B2.
Special permit.
Special permit.
Which is something you come before us, but more paperwork. Similar
They're all
hearing?
set with the paperwork.
Yeah, similar hearing, this was just one more step.
The town as a whole has been a pleasure to deal
Yeah.
with, so.
I think to stay consistent, I would like to see the public hearing. I'll say personally, I don't think there's gonna be any issues, just formality. What's the rest of it?
And as a board, we have to be consistent, for the next person that wants to rent one of those spaces out.
Makes sense?
Yeah, I would agree.
Okay.
All right, so we'll Can you finish your motion on that then?
So we have a motion and a second to waive the site plan review.
But I'll require a
It'll require a public hearing anyway, so there's really not
a special
benefit.
permit and a
And
public
like you
hearing.
said, to be consistent, you might as well just,
So would it be best to,
you can either withdraw or you would do a 0-5 or whatever, a majority motion again, whichever way.
so if we withdraw it, or Bob withdraws it, we could take that up as a waiver during the public hearing, right?
Yeah, they're not gonna need it. They've got a site plan, they've got a, yeah.
Okay, I'll withdraw my motion. File a special permit.
Okay.
John,
See
is
you
that
again.
okay with you, Mr. Second?
Yep.
All right, so, you can stick around for the filing of your application if you want, but you don't have to, because they're just gonna go, did they file it? And I'm gonna go, yeah. So they were prepared for a potential.
Yep.
Great.
Okay,
Just very informative.
She is.
it's good. She makes us look good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a great feeling, actually. After the first meeting, so it sounds like we'll see you on the 27th?
21st,
21st, I'm sorry.
Monday,
Good luck.
okay?
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thanks for coming in.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you.
All right,
Same
take
here.
care.
Thank you.
So Jen, for this, the next one is for the landscaping up on 146, the CrossFit.
Yes. Do you have anybody here from CrossFit? No?
We've sold the property, but I'd feel more comfortable not participating.
Yeah, it's not a supermajority process, so if you want to step off, that's fine. And I don't think we called it out, but Scott Paul is not here tonight, so Wally Baker, our associate, is acting as a full member in his place, so I just wanted to point that out. Okay, so you have the email from Dino, who owns the co-owner of the building, I believe, and runs the CrossFit. We're in August, it's pretty hot, it's kind of hard to plant plants and make sure they're gonna stay alive. So he came in the other day and he said, can I just wait until October, or end of September, October to plant the plants and to throw up the fencing. They're just waiting on the paving contractor to get the area in around the fencing, and then they can put the fencing in, but they want to make sure the pavement's down first. So he said that's just delaying them a little bit. They want to open really soon. I said, I really don't see an issue. Worst case is the board will make you put the money for these things in an account like you did on at least one other site.
Yep.
I said, this is a worst case. So he forwarded me this request and is asking you to let him just have until October 1st for the landscaping and September 1st for the fencing around the dumpster. If you remember the site, the dumpster is actually behind the building. But the only reason he's required to fence it is he does show some employee and some potential customer parking behind the building, so he had to fence the dumpster.
So he's asking in this email for wood fencing rather than chain link.
Yeah, we usually don't love chain link anyways, but he was just doing chain link with slats. Again, because it's behind the building, it'll probably only be seen by employees, but.
Once they know it's behind the building,
And I said, the
it's
only thing we
easy.
don't like about wood, we're fine with wood. It just needs to be maintained, and that's why he put in there that he
It's
will
in
make
writing.
sure it's
It's
maintained.
in writing, so.
So up to you if you want to let him have until September 1st or October 1st, or if you want to let him do that, but have him put up the money in an account. You've done both, so he's definitely done a good job to date. I don't know if that's
I was going to say that
prelude to his, seems pretty straight, but I've said that before.
they've poured time and money into the property at quite a clip during the summer, so. And I want to support a business on 146, so I'll make the motion that we delay the landscaping and dumpster fencing. He probably already has the bids, knows how much it's going to cost him, and if he could put that money up, just because I want it to be complete. I don't want us to get caught
So put it in an account with the town.
Yeah, and he can give us the numbers for the fencing and the plants,
Mhm.
and as long as it makes sense to you.
Okay?
Yep.
That was the motion.
Second.
And do you want to put the date of October 1 in that? To be complete by October 1?
By October 1st is for landscaping, and September 1st is, he can do, October 1st is fine. If he has a dumpster behind his building and people know it's there, he'll need a fence fast, because he'll be surprised how much trash he'll generate. If it was out front, they'd still throw stuff in front of his dumpster. Even when there's a fence around it, they'll throw stuff in front of the fence. I do it I show up at 1 every morning that I have to unlock and throw stuff in.
Okay, so October 1st is an overall date.
Yep.
Is that a mo-
And
that's a motion?
second.
Second. Any additional comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And Miriam abstains, right?
So Miriam's off.
Off the board,
So
okay.
400.
Yeah.
And now Miriam's jumping back on.
Use determination, 7 Comitas Road.
All right, 7 Clayton Road, come on down. Introduce yourself and tell the board what your question is.
Hi, I'm Ted Sine. I run a lot of clearing company.
Mr. Watts?
We have a slight dilemma on trucking. A big part of our market is down in Connecticut, and the rules down in Connecticut are 80,000 pounds. All my trucks carry 100,000 pounds, and that's what we carry up here in Massachusetts to other markets. So what we've tried as an experiment in some other locations is we take a 100,000 pound load, we bring it to a location, we offload it, reload it onto a lighter truck and haul it in to Connecticut. And that makes us legal. We've gotten hit with a lot of fines down. So we have to make some changes, so. Paul's offered us a spot up behind his place where we could operate that type of operation. We probably have a couple trucks a day running in and a couple trucks a day running out. If it all seems like it's gonna go good, then I'll buy lighter trucks to lighten up the loads, so the loads would get bigger going into Connecticut.
So this is Paul Watts from Watts
Yeah.
Trucking, Route 146 South. Paul previously had the AAA or the bus service
Yeah,
up on the
that's-
hill, and
That's
that's
where he wants to
where
go.
the
Oh, okay.
cell tower is up there as
You can't
well.
see it from the road where he wants to go either. You couldn't see the buses either.
So this one was interesting because I see things in the use table that it might be able to be allowed under, but there's nothing that says, I don't know, trucking transfer station or whatever. There's definitely trucking services, so I don't know. And so I said, you really need to come before the board, explain yourself to the board, let them take a look at the use table and make a use determination of whether you're allowed, whether you're not allowed, whether you're allowed
were
with a
running-
hearing, you name it.
Yeah, they were running 60 buses a day, in and out many times a day.
Wow.
And
Contractor, yeah.
all in little cars, you know what I mean, before, and we didn't have any trouble. Now we're cutting it way back when he comes in.
Is that industrial where you are, or B2?
B2.
B2, okay.
Ted, what's the spelling of your last name?
SOI.
Special permit.
Yeah. And contractors not allowed.
So Massachusetts is 100.
Massachusetts,
It's
we're
80.
registered. Yeah, and
Yeah.
Connecticut's 100.
So is it?
Connecticut is 80,000 pounds, Mass is 100.
Oh,
So you gotta
Rhode
lose
Island is
one.
107. So, all my trucks are set up for the 100,000 pound weights, which means they're triaxles, they're heavy rigs.
Yeah.
Empty, they weigh 41,000 pounds.
it's like fishing for kivers.
So what's the,
What, is there a reason that they're different?
Well,
I mean, I'm just
that's
curious.
just the
Revenue.
state of Connecticut, they're tough, you
Go to
know.
page 14.
And we just went to court with them because, you know, we haul agricultural products. There's a law out there that's put out, the transportation department said that we're legal at 100,000 pounds in Connecticut. Connecticut's ruling said that we're allowed to carry, they list
services.
wood as an agricultural
Right.
product,
Yeah.
but DOT doesn't recognize it. So, just to give you an example, we got stopped for the last first of the month, got a $9,600 fine. The month before that, over $16,000 in fines. So either close the door on Connecticut, but they're my two strongest
Trucking
markets,
services, warehousing.
you know?
I just-
So you
Or figure it out.
warehousing, even though it's outside?
So we have been hauling on the southern part of, down in Rhode Island. We've been hauling the heavy loads in,
Ted,
lighting them up,
the,
and they work.
the product you're hauling, logs, chips, both,
Chips and
That's what
logs,
the-
yeah.
logs and chips, and when you bring it in and you need to dump off
How's it with the
20,
asterisk, right?
you're
Well,
storing that
on
outside,
the log
or you
pile,
just,
on the log
That's the
truck,
data.
we
2 out of
pull
3
just
possible
partial.
uses.
Well, we
So if you go to the
It's
next
also a bridge
page,
formula that
go to
falls
the
in
next
play.
page.
Each grade on each
Yeah,
axle
I'm
has to be
looking
a
at
certain
G.
amount.
okay,
On a chip
So-
van, we have to unload the whole thing, because if we run the whole load back, which will be too heavy on the back
Landscape
of the trailer.
contractor.
okay, so that just gets stockpiled on the
Arborist.
It's
site
stockpiled.
and then loaded onto,
Loaded on so
an
we
empty
can
truck.
control it.
okay.
Special permit, right?
So how many trucks would sit on the
Special
site as
permit
well?
with
How many
ZBA.
The
trucks?
trucks
And
move
then the
constantly.
third possible
So there's,
option,
Two
but,
trucks, maybe.
but at the end of the
Contractor
night,
yard,
which is not permitted.
not,
two
right.
trucks?
Legally, I have to go.
So we got a couple of things here. Under G, 3, landscape contractors, arborists, and building contractors. And B2 would be a special permit through the ZBA. If you go into number 8, G8, it's paving and other contractor yards. It's not permitted. If you go back to, where were we here? F3, trucking services and warehousing. You're stockpiling product, even though it's not in a building, I would look at it as warehousing. It's also a special permit through ZBA,
So allowed, but a special permit?
right? If you were in an industrial, it would be a different story.
Yeah.
Those are the 3 that we were kind of talking about here.
So does the majority of the board feel like any of those is a better fit, or not?
I was looking at this earlier, and when I came across the arborist, that's kind of where I thought you fell first.
Well, and he actually touched on one more thing, just to throw you another loop, is he's hauling an agricultural product
Right.
as well.
Yeah.
So that's another weird little twist.
Mm-hmm.
Just to mess up
Thank you.
your head a little bit more. And that's all he hauls.
That's
The
correct.
site is an agricultural product, because any kind of logging product is considered an agriculture.
Yeah.
Which is why you got the exception
Yeah.
from federal Connecticut level, even though the state chose not to.
Right.
So he's not doing agriculture, obviously, but he is
Right,
hauling
so-
an agricultural product.
It's not being produced on the land, so
Right, yeah,
it's
that's-
not an automatic permit.
I think if you
When I
hang,
was looking at it, I thought you were closest to F3 as
Right.
well, trucking and
Not a temporary stand.
warehousing.
Mhm.
The warehousing was just a little weird
Okay.
because it's not in a building, but
Stands for retail. It's not, nothing's being traded on site.
Right. Yeah, the sale's not happening at that site.
Well, the first one that you read, that you read off when you talked about, I'm thinking as a planner,
G3.
and you guys can help us on this, is that we have, because this will have, other people can hang their hat on it. So if it's not trees, and it's some other product, we'll have to say yes. And how do we, you know what I'm saying, the one,
Well, the first one it wouldn't be up to this board, it would be up to ZBA.
the ZBA, and that way, and that's, I think the ZBA would say yes, that's what they exist for.
that's
Yes.
it. You sound like you've been talking to
It's
our
the truth.
a little bit
It's
more
the truth.
today.
I don't know, hey, you know, it's,
Well, it's their job to decide if they think.
yeah. That there is no thing that we can hang you on, so you go to them, and I
But he
think,
has to apply under a section to the zoning board, so he either has to apply for a landscape contractor permit, which I think is a stretch.
Hmm.
Or he has to apply for trucking service, which in my mind, it's less of a stretch. I suppose he could apply for both and see if the zoning board, you know. But it sounds like either, like, it sounds like, but I need an actual count.
I'm
That the
playing the
majority
devil's
of the board
advocate.
thinks
I'm
there's
playing the devil's
room.
advocate. I want to approach Paul, and I'm picking up used tires.
Mhm.
I want to dump them there, shred them, because I got a customer.
Well, not
that'll-
even
Now you
shred
shred
them.
'em.
Don't even
You're not
process
processing anything
Okay,
there,
I'm
right?
just dumping them, and then
Dump
I'm gonna, sell them to some, and move them. What other, it's another product, so I want to make sure it's something that we can,
it. Is that a trucking service? If it's tires?
Well,
how do you make?
yeah.
No, but you see his one.
I'm making,
It's taking agricultural.
some other guy's gotta come in across the street, some other guy's gonna go to Pleasant Valley
Because that's a
to the movie theater and say, well, Paul's doing this, I'm gonna do tires. And Paul can't say nothing because I'm just trucking. If someone decides to buy
So-
the drive-in movie property
Mhm.
and do the same thing.
Right,
But it's
yeah,
not gonna be trees.
I hear you. So,
How do we make sure it's
Ted,
right?
the trees and I think you just said something interesting. The logs and the chips that you're hauling are from your
From my production.
operation.
Right.
So it might not be harvested off your property necessarily,
No,
but
it
it's
comes off the
from,
jobs that we do.
So you're a contractor.
you are a contractor.
Site
But is-
clearing, land
does he
clearing.
fit inside of if he's an other contractor, though, he can't do it here at all?
Yeah.
So he'd have to sell.
So is he changing the landscape
Is he an agricultural contractor?
by cutting trees and clearing land? Is he in the landscape contractors group?
Not at this site, though.
No,
No.
a landscape contractor could go at this site. I think what Wayne's asking is,
Yeah.
could he, I mean, we think of landscape contractor as a guy with block and brick and some chips,
Right.
you know,
Okay.
but could it be stretched to be,
I don't think it's a stretch.
okay,
What's the stretch?
There's no- yeah, no-
Landscape
What's the
con-
difference of, what's the definition of landscape?
landscape contractor?
Everybody automatically thinks of a lawnmower, a beautiful lawn, chips and bark mulch and stuff like this. But that's not the definition of landscape. Every job you take has got a contract on it.
Pretty much, yeah.
So in my eyes, and that's why I was looking at that you're a landscape contractor. Might not be what everybody's thinking, but that's where I think you fall. And because you're cutting trees, you're an arborist. You know? That's where I was
Some
looking
of these
earlier.
places, some developer's gonna buy, and it will be a landscaper mowing lawns and trimming
But it's a
hedges.
special permit
It's
through
the first
ZBA.
Any way you slice it,
Yep,
time, you know.
any way you slice it, it's as,
that's where I think you fall.
So how do I get to that next step?
you can come in and see me, and I'll walk you down to Lynn, and she'll give you the applications,
Yeah.
and
So the
go in
law-
front of the zoning board of appeals.
The logs that are piled along the edge of,
Yeah, they'll go along the edge of the, in a
yeah, but there's a
row.
pile of logs there now.
It's my stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good answer.
See, the thing is, the
Been in for
product, when I
years.
put it there, it's gotta move fast. I can't
He's
leave
with
it
wood.
hanging around.
You heat with wood,
So
I
it's
know.
in and out pretty quickly.
All right, so, it sounds like, can I just see a show of hands? I need the majority of the board okay with that? Landscape / arborist contracting
Yes.
is where you think he's gonna have the best shot.
That's right.
Yep.
with
Good
the
plan.
zoning board.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I see 4.5 heads shaking.
Yeah, I-
Okay, there's 5.
Put the others in your back pockets, but that's
All right,
where
so you
that's
need to
where
go
I'd
to
start.
Zoning board, and if the zoning board's probably wanna see the site layout and stuff. Once they go through the zoning board, are you gonna need to have them come back here for a site plan hearing, or are you gonna just waive that to the zoning board process?
I think we gotta wait till the zoning board to get rolling.
So.
Then have them come back though.
You want them to come back here for a potential public hearing?
Yeah, because then we'll have all the information, because right now we're,
Okay, My question was more, do you need it at all? If they go through a public hearing and they have to present that all to the zoning board of appeals, and the abutters all get called into that process, do you need to do that as well, or?
Through the chair, I mean, ask everyone to weigh in. I don't think, if you go through that process, you don't have to come back for me as a board sitting.
I mean, you don't have to decide right now, I just.
Marion?
I'm a little uncomfortable with, like, not knowing where things, where on the lot things are gonna be stored, but I'm pretty familiar with that. I used to live over on Sibley Road and would walk the trails behind there. And it's a big, wide, open space, and it's pretty flat, isn't it, up
It's
there?
flat up there.
Yeah. So,
You just can't see it from the road, but it's
right,
there.
yeah. Yep, they
How many,
had,
how many acres in the back there, Paul?
I would say there's about 8, but what he's approximately gonna be using is in the 3.
Okay.
2.5, 3 acres of it.
Okay.
Yep.
We have the back corner being used right now by the highway department putting their barriers up there, taking the barriers out, putting them,
No, Mass DOT.
Oh, yeah, too, yeah.
you know, for
Staging site.
the next year or two anyways. Sometimes there's a pile up there, and right now there's not too many, but
That's for the job in Millbury?
I really don't know. I think it's Millbury, and I think that the other jobs that they're bringing from both places. I think actually most of them came from down here on 190, and 290 comes together under the bridge.
Oh,
They
yeah.
were piled there. Then they all come there, and now there's very few, but they said there'll be more back and forth. They work on them up there. They're making for all these angle irons on them now, so you don't know he's there, but they're there doing that.
John?
So I'm not concerned with the use, if the ZBA determines that it's a use that can be on that site. I think it's kind of a business district, it's up in the back somewhere. I think no matter where they would put it on that site, it really wouldn't concern me all that much. So it's really just a matter of ZBA determining if that use is allowed in that space, so.
If you look the center of the road, you can see where it's gonna be. Other than that, you can't see it. You go right up to the end, you know what I mean?
Well,
I don't really have any issues with that. I drive by there, 4 or 5 times a week. It's out of sight now. You clear it up, it's flat and so forth up in the back. Nobody can see it. Only occasionally could I even see the school buses, excuse me, when you had all those up
Yeah.
there. Most of the times when they were coming out.
Yeah, that's the only time you see them when they're
Yeah.
coming out.
Yep.
I mean, it's a good area for it because it's,
So can I make
Yeah,
a
we just-
suggestion then? Perhaps they go to the zoning board of appeals. I believe the zoning board of appeals is going to require all the same information you would need for site plan review. But they can maybe get through the zoning board of appeals process, fill out a waiver application for site plan review, and attach whatever was shown to the zoning board of appeals. Make sure you're okay with that,
Yeah.
and then you can act at that time
yeah, because all the abutters are gonna be notified,
of the zoning board.
yeah, and then they're gonna be notified if we have a public hearing, the same people are gonna get notified all over again.
But at least you could see what was submitted to
We
the
see.
zoning board and
Good.
make sure anything you might be concerned about was covered.
Makes sense to me.
Makes sense.
All right, so come see me tomorrow or whenever, and I will walk you to Lynn in the zoning board / building office.
Okay.
We'll get you all the applications and get you set up. The zoning board meets once a month, that's your only constraint, and they have to advertise several weeks in advance, so we'll get you in and out of there as fast as humanly possible.
Okay.
So the sooner you come see me, the better.
You're here in this building tomorrow?
I'm right across the hallway in this building tomorrow. Yes.
All right.
Okay.
Come see you.
All right.
Okay,
Okay,
so she has-
thank you.
All right,
Take
okay.
care.
I don't see it.
Filings, so we have them. Baker's Paradise
Oh,
is
actually-
in.
National
We're
Grid.
missing an endorsed site plan. Let me grab that. Sorry, computer.
The birds alive. Turkeys are growing.
Turkeys are growing.
Yeah.
The,
Grain bill's going up.
busy with the chickens, my gosh.
Yeah.
On Saturday, we were
Site
processing all
plan
the
for the
chickens.
solar project on canopies behind National Grid. So I just need a motion to endorse that, and then I just need to actually sign the planning, the Sutton Planning Board one.
See the top line for our chair. We all have to sign?
Yep.
So I
we
need a motion to sign
Every
it.
page?
The canopy, it's a already developed site, the National Grid Distribution Facility. It's in between, over there, maintenance part.
We're not doing the accessory apartment at 14 Old Tavern Lane?
Yeah,
That's
that's a
next.
filing, that is a filing, yes.
Oh, we just accept the
Yep,
filing?
we're just accepting the filing, and you're gonna accept Vapors Paradise as well, because they did fill out all their information. And then I just need who was the motion to endorse this plan?
Haven't had one yet.
I'll make a motion that we endorse this plan.
Second, second.
Give the date.
Yeah, the date, the most
Received
recent revision.
June 5th, received.
Let's see, receive.
Just the revision dates. You might need to
April
flip the page.
21st.
Yeah, whatever the most recent is.
See.
That's what's there.
April 21st. Received June 5th, but April 21st is
The big bold letters.
What's the date?
April 21st.
2017.
April 21st?
Yeah, it's the same here too. Yeah.
Okay, so
Is there any other title
4/21,
blocks that updates?
Yep, down here.
4/21/17.
And no, there's a rev.
Yep.
Okay.
We all sign?
We second.
I seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay,
Okay.
so we're gonna move right along. We had a public hearing continued.
Well, we have a request to continue, so I, if you're going to grant that continuance,
Why don't you start? I did it first.
Does anyone want to make a motion to continue?
do you want me to
Do you want to read it?
read the request?
Sure.
Yeah.
I am requesting a continuance of the public hearing for the police station project. The plans are again being altered in response to commentary before the Conservation Commission, and therefore the planning director recommends the hearing before the planning board be continued until such time as the design teams feel it is likely to have a fairly final version of the plans and can reissue them and the related drainage counts in a timely manner for peer review. As such, I would request a continuance until August 21st, 2017. Thank you for your consideration, James.
Anybody in the audience here? Just to make any comments?
Does anyone from the audience want to make any comments about the continuance?
I can just, I'm Joyce Smith, but I can give you a little update, because at our meeting last week, we had information that there's 22 catch basins that drain into that intersection, and that was one of the things that was brought up at the meeting. So we had quite a bit of people in the audience. I was just here to mention that 14 Old Tavern needs to file with conservation because the original filing for the house was conservation. I also have one other item I can bring up. Is the last time I was here for the solar farm, and the one Vandenakis.
Oh, Purgatory Road.
Purgatory Road, because I was in the butt up to the original street thing that we did. And I believe at the end I mentioned that, I asked if there was any wetlands on the property, and they said, oh, no, there's not any wetlands. So I was very surprised that there was any comments to conservation. And we also had disagreements on the accuracy of the wetland delineation. So there was a site visit out there last week on Friday, which I went to, and there appears to be wetlands right in the middle of where so they are reassessing that. And
They still have a zoning issue, access issue they're working out with the town
Right.
of Northbridge as well.
but that may be a moot point, because right in the middle of where they want to put the solar panels is wetlands. There were two parts that came up that they thought stopped, but it was delineated last November, and when we were out there, we were in water coming right down the middle of it, so
Yikes.
Whoa.
Those are the things that I wanted to come and tell about.
Thank you for the update. Thank you.
Thank you, Joyce.
Love that shared communication. All right.
Okay, so this started out on a continuation of 489 Central Pike.
To 7:45 PM. Actually, where do we go? 7:40 PM on the 21st will be the next continuance. You have 3 public hearings in front of that.
We're gonna have to move faster than we are tonight. There was 5 minutes for 9 items here.
Yep.
And thank God the 7:05 was continued. So, all in favor of continuing to 7:40 on the 21st? Aye.
Oh, I'm sorry, who was the motion and who was the second?
As I said, do you make a motion?
Was that you, John, making that
It
motion?
wasn't, but I will now.
I'll second it. Okay, so we have a motion and a second.
Thanks.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
Sounded like a 5. Okay. yeah.
7:30 bylaw changes.
Okay, this is just a quick one, but we need to have draft articles to the town clerk's office, at least placeholder draft articles by the 17th, so I think we need to do this tonight. We have a working group going, just started actually on designing an area in West Sutton for a potential West Sutton Village overlay. Had a meeting last Thursday, have a meeting this Thursday, and we'll continue having meetings to see if we can get a consensus on an area or not get a consensus on an area. So I have that first article is kind of it's a draft article for that. The next one, I have to look at the update from the governor's office on the recent recreational marijuana legislation that was passed. But where we were in the spring was we were putting a temporary moratorium in place, and the election, the town voted to prohibit recreational marijuana. Town council at the time said, all right, if you have an election vote to prohibit, you need to follow it up with a bylaw to prohibit. Per the weird wording of the last legislation. So I need to double check, see if this legislation is still as weirdly worded and we need to do this, or we may not, but as of the last town meeting, town council said we needed to do a bylaw prohibition as well as an election vote. So that's what this article's for. And then the next one came up actually as part of the Thoughts on the Police Station project. Signs for municipal facilities. We obviously have signs on all our municipal on the town hall, on the schools. But when you read through the sign bylaw, there isn't a specific allowance for anything other than school signs. And there's not an exemption. There's an exemption from having to get a permit, like to pay for and file for a permit for municipal facilities, but there's not an exemption, like you still have to comply with the guidelines, specifically says it. And it's not addressed in the guidelines. So this third article is to add municipal facilities can have up to a 20 square foot sign to the sign bylaw table. So, and then the last one was requested by the building department. We had all those changes to non-conforming structures, blah, 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 to clean everything up at the last town meeting and to put it in the section. And there was one provision that was a little fuzzy. It dealt with non-conforming structures, it dealt with non-conforming lots, but it didn't specifically deal with non-conforming structures on a non-conforming lot. So even though town council says it's a word may or shall covers this, the building department says, can you please just make it, can you just put it in writing? Even though there's legal mumbo jumbo that says this is already covered in our bylaw, the building department asked if we can just state it very clearly. So this is a request of the building department to say how you deal with a non-conforming structure on a non-conforming lot. So these are the four And then I'm also assisting, I shouldn't say assisting, but I'm assisting the town administrator's office. The historic commission needs to do parking and access to the 8-lot school
Well,
for AAB or whatever,
ABB,
ADA
yeah.
compliance.
Mhm.
And so they need a portion of the town's right-of-ways there. So I was dealing with Christine Watkins, seeing if there's any way they can define an area from the right-of-way that we can then transfer exactly like we did for the police station out of Central Turnpike at the last town meeting. So obviously, town council's helping us do that, and the town's kind of covering that minor cost, because we've already done it, so we know what to do. But we need to, anybody who's on Historic Commissioner Society or in contact, and I will talk to Christine tomorrow, and we need a map and a legal description of the area they need. But I do have a draft article for that. It's all written up, because we already had an article for Central Turnpike we could copy. But I need to know if they're gonna have an area, a map of the area they need and a description of the area they need, or that, and I need to know that soon, or that can't move forward. So,
there is a map
good,
of the area.
yeah, I have a map of like,
I don't have it with me.
of the area that they're gonna need from the
Right.
layout, right? Okay, good.
Mhm.
Isn't that triangle owned by the town?
Not all of it.
Well, the schoolhouse is not, it's owned by the Historic Society.
Right.
And there's 8-lot, West Sutton Road,
Yeah.
public right-of-way, 8 Lots Road, public right-of-way, and 8 Lots Road, really weird,
Yes.
right-hand
Especially
turn.
West Woodbury.
So it's all
Yeah.
owned by the town, it's all within the town's right-of-way, and of course, this inside turn, if you're looking at the front door of the schoolhouse, everything to the left is a huge sweeping section of public right-of-way. No big deal, just like Central Turnpike for the police station, no big deal to take a chunk of that, but you need to literally define the chunk that the Historic Society needs and deed it over or give a permanent public access easement over it, whichever way the Board of Selectmen or Town Administrator are comfortable with. But it has to be defined, and that can only be done through town meeting vote. So I've got the article all laid out, it's all written, but I need the map and I need a legal description for it to be able to move forward. So, and I assume the selectmen will either be sponsoring that or the Historic Commission will get the whopping 10 signatures they need to petition that. So, and then that will provide the area for parking and access.
Thank you for all the good work. The fourth article. I'm just, I guess I'm confused. A non-conforming structure on a non-conforming lot may be altered in accordance with section 2D. What
So
is-
go to your most
and what is-
recent version of the bylaw. And
You don't want it, the word may still leaves it,
no, let me tell you what
We're trying to make-
town council was saying. It's already covered, if you read, it's section 1C.
I thought we were trying to tighten it up when we see the word may, I'm thinking we're still leaving it loose.
Yeah, no, here, let me read it to you, the section that already covers this, according to town council. Okay, 1C3C,
2D.
non-conforming structure. Any non-conform, okay, any is the key word, not may, any. Any non-conforming structure may be extended by right up to 30% of its square footage of its footprint, as long as no non-conformities are created or increased. Any increase beyond 30% or creation or increase of a non-conformity shall only be allowed pursuant to a special permit granted by the zoning board of appeals in accordance with section 7A. So that paragraph exists, 2D. For this, 2D already exists within our bylaw. People have come to the building commissioner's office and they see there's a section called non-conforming structures and there's a section called non-conforming lots. So they've had already, in at least one case, an attorney on an opposing side to one of these extensions or changes, arguing that nowhere in this section does it say a non-conforming structure on a non-conforming lot can be extended. And town council says, oh yes, it does. The word any means exactly what it says. Any non-conforming structure, whether it's on a conforming lot or a non-conforming lot. And so I said that to the, town council said that to the building department says, I get it, any's one of those words like may or shall that has a legal meaning, but can you please just put it in writing? And that's, so that's all we're doing. It's here, any covers it, but we've already had at least one one attorney argue, no, and he doesn't cover it, and it wastes time and money. So if we can just add the sentence,
At the end.
we don't waste time and money. So we will be adding
cleared.
to
Light just came
1C, 3C,
Okay.
we'll be adding this to a different section, a non-conforming structure on a non-conforming lot.
Okay.
So we'll
Thank
be
you.
adding this. So we're covered legally, but this will keep us out of the pot and having to spend money or spend time arguing it. It just makes it black and white. We don't have to rely on the word any.
Okay. We go back to the second article again. So what was the reasoning for changing it over?
The second article? Okay. So at Springtown meeting, we voted a temporary moratorium on recreational marijuana while the state's figuring stuff out. There was also an election vote in the ballot box to prohibit recreational retail recreational establishments within the town of, actually, not just retail, any kind of recreational marijuana establishments. So growing, retail, processing, any kind of recreational marijuana. And that passed. So there was a ballot question at Sutton's election that said, no recreational marijuana within the town at all, okay? Town council had put out that advice letter that was several pages thick, if you remember way back, or 6 months back. And what they said is, if you're going to prohibit recreational marijuana establishments, it needs to be a 2-step process. An election vote, and then you enact a bylaw permanently prohibiting any kind of recreational marijuana establishments. So that's so we would basically pull the temporary moratorium section and put in its place the permanent prohibition in accordance with the vote taken at the May election. Now, like I said.
So what happens if it gets to town meeting and that doesn't pass?
There's a whole advisory on that, which I'll give you for your next meeting. But what I need to do first is, there was a whole bunch of new legislation that just came down the
I was
pipe
going to say, wasn't there
just a
something
week
that
ago.
Yeah.
So, and I haven't read the whole, so I don't believe this process has changed for that legislative vote. They were playing with percentages due to the state and percentages due to the town. They were playing with the money end of things, but there was some content they changed. So I need to go back to the brand new advisory, read through it. But I wanted to make sure we talked about this and it was on here at least as a draft in case we need it.
So I think one of the things I heard is that if the town, when the question during the state election was put before, if your town voted, against it in the majority, then you can,
Which we
you
did.
can prohibit it,
Mhm.
and then if you didn't, then you'd have to go through the town.
Mhm.
Like what we're doing
election
now.
process.
The election process.
Yeah. So we did vote by a slim margin to prohibit it on that original question. And then we voted
So we're covered
by
in
a
both.
larger margin on this list.
So we're covered in both.
Right.
in both.
So I just need to double check that. We
That's
may
what I
not
wanted.
need this article, but I wanted it on here just in case we need it.
Yeah.
But we'll pull it if we don't need it, obviously.
Similar to excise tax,
Mhm.
which no one wants to pay. We should prohibit that in Sutton. Not recreational marijuana. We have businesses one town away using our roads to drive up to the Mass Pike, and another town's getting them. Now that the state has finally sorted this out, and the money, the tax revenue that's gonna be generated, just as a planner, it's a whole bunch of it. We don't need the money, I guess, because people are gonna buy marijuana.
Mhm.
One town away. I don't know, it's almost, reminds me of liquor in dry counties and all that stuff. The vote was close, but does that mean that,
It's an opinion thing.
it's an opinion thing?
I got no vote here in the
Right.
the town
But-
limits of Sutton,
But
so.
they're finally shaking out how much money, what the tax rate's gonna be, and what's gonna go to the state, and what's gonna go to the towns.
Yeah.
And it's where the money is right now. It is the wind in the sails. And if you wanna build
Mhm.
things, you might wanna reconsider your vote. If you wanna build a library, you wanna build a police station, where's it all coming from?
Mhm.
You know,
Okay. Duly noted. All right, so that's it. Any questions on those? There are always other articles we talk about as we go through the year. I'll double check my running list I keep and see if I missed any. The sign bylaw is gonna be a bigger process, so we're gonna actually start that probably in November. And we'll have almost a year-long process on the sign bylaw because we have a lot of material to cover.
I think something you had mentioned back maybe a month or so ago is around just maybe revisiting the solar photovoltaic large installation. Because, the question is, are we using valuable land?
Oh, do you want it in the B2? Was kind of the,
Well, I think, no, the concern is that are we using kind of valuable land that could be used for businesses? Is it being circumvented by solar? Just, I think it's more of a research to kind of question, is the approach we're taking now the right approach? But also taking into account that, it potentially could industrialize residential neighborhoods as well. So it's just kind of looking at, just,
cost benefit kind of.
yeah, maybe not anything for this fall, but
Uh-huh.
it's just something I think, you got me thinking about it,
Okay.
in regards to
Right.
the way we have it now. Is it, we shoot ourselves in the foot
Mhm.
by not thinking about it in an expanded way. I don't know what that even means, but just,
Okay.
reevaluating it, because
Uh-huh.
we could be using up valuable land, but we have very limited
Yeah,
business,
land.
yeah.
Mhm.
But on the other hand, taking into account that, when we did have the vote, people in the residential neighborhoods were pretty clear that
They don't want it there.
they don't want it there. So I think it's
Mhm.
just something to think about.
Mhm.
And do some research on to see what other towns are doing.
Deal.
So in essence, like Aggregate's old pit, that could be a large solar field. They could come and they could ask for
We lose all that.
a break in the taxes like they've done in other places.
Well,
And for 20 years, you don't even have a shot of putting a business in there.
Yeah.
Even though
David
there's
Lewis.
railhead,
Yeah,
there's
it's not a
railhead to
break.
it. all kinds
They
of-
still have to pay taxes, but it's not creating, well, I shouldn't even say that. It's not creating on-site jobs, and it's not providing like a local service like a grocery store or a restaurant or something. It's definitely generating tax
And you
revenue.
don't have to buy any school buses. No one's gonna use the
Well,
library.
it's definitely
It's a
more
double-edged
profitable
knife.
than houses, that's for
Right.
sure.
Yeah.
Yes.
Anyways,
Yeah.
but yeah, I think that's part of the evaluation.
Yeah, it's
I
just part of the
mean,
evaluation.
doing solar fields is creating jobs somewhere down the line, but is it creating jobs in China where the panels come from? It's definitely creating jobs, but, and how long are those jobs there for? Just the construction period? or-
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah, so I think it's definitely something just
Right.
worth looking at,
yeah, I got you.
because
I
when
think
when we went
actually-
through the whole thing with the, with the one that's proposed, that they're going through the process now,
Mhm.
on, just off 146 and such a turnpike,
Mhm.
maybe start to think about it in a different way.
Yeah, and I mean, I think your angle there is there might be some residential locations that may be appropriate
Right,
and not
yeah,
as opposed to a housing development that might be appropriate and not as impactful where you
Right.
could develop solar instead of putting it in your business district and,
Right.
Yeah.
If the right conditions are met, then it's not gonna have an impact on the area residents. Like, there are instances we've had in the past where that's happened, like the one off of Purgatory, where, other than the access issue, it's relatively out in the middle of the woods somewhere.
and the swamp in the middle of the
Yeah.
panel field. Yeah,
Yeah.
not really a swamp.
Yeah.
Okay,
So that's just something,
to think about.
yeah.
I actually think APA, American Planning Association, has done a economic study, but I'll see what we've got on
Yeah.
Be interested to see that.
that. All right, so if there's nothing else you can think of, like I said, I'll go back through my running list, see if I missed anything, and review the recreational marijuana recent law summary, and then go from there on these.
If we don't have any questions from,
I was gonna ask the two gentlemen that are in the audience, anything you wanna add to any of the meeting before we adjourn?
then I'll make a motion that we adjourn.
I'll second that.
Any discussion on the
Not
adjournment?
bad.
Hearing none. All in favor?
How you-
Wow. Not bad.
On the dot.